What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Destiny 2 build video. Obviously, with Season of the Deep, we got some pretty cool additions to the Arc subclass this time around. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a reprised version of a build that I previously did on the channel, which is the classic Heart of Inmost Light Arc Titan build. So let's just dive into what you're going to need. Like I said, the exact what you want is the Heart of Inmost Light. This is what it looks like. Actually has a couple ornaments here. We have something that's, a little more Vex themed, and then also this Taken theme one, which I really like. The colors freaking awesome. But the main thing we want to talk about is the perk, right? Overflowing Light. Using an ability, your grenade, melee, or barricade, this also counts for the thruster on the Arc subclass, but when you use one of those abilities, it empowers the other two abilities. Empowered means abilities have a faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and now your barricades have more hit points. Now, like I said, we want to take advantage of certain things on the artifact this time around, so let's just dive into what you're going to need. First up, I'd recommend authorized mods Arc and Melee. Again, it's going to take those armor energy costs down to 1, so we can focus on using other mods that do cost more. And we can also put on some stat mods as well. So with the Melee mod, obviously we want to take advantage of our Thunderclap Melee. We're going to have our abilities back very often, so having mods around that is going to be very helpful. And then specifically for the Arc mods, again, that's going to help us with our Arc weapons, which we do want to take advantage of this time around. The reason being is because of this artifact perk right here, Shock and Awe. Arc Final Blows while you're amplified summon burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. Now, it says Arc Final Blows while you're amplified, so any Arc Final Blow. It can be your weapons, it can be your abilities, doesn't really matter. So pretty much your Arc weapons and abilities also get another lightning strike, which is pretty good. Next, I'd recommend Thunderous Retort. Grant bonus Arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or while amplified. Lasts until the end of the super activation. We are going to be amplified a lot of the time, and having bonus damage for our Thundercrash super is going to be really good. I'll dive more into the abilities and other stuff in the ability section of the video. Next, Amped Up. Gain damage resistance while amplified. We're going to be amplified a lot, and if we can survive more encounters, this one's just a no-brainer. And then lastly, it's not absolutely necessary, but I do like this one. Lightning strikes twice. After throwing an arc grenade, gain increased grenade recharge for a short time. Arc Final Blows extend the duration of this benefit. So essentially, with our arc weapons and abilities, we can extend the regen for our grenade, which is going to allow us to have it even more. Next, let's go over what I'm using under the Striker Arc subclass. First off, for the super, like I mentioned, we want to use Thunder Crash. Again, that is our one-hit, big damage super, and with Thunderous Retort, that is just a bonus on top of it. Next, for our abilities, I'm going with the Thruster class ability. Again, while grounded, quickly evade in a lateral direction. Again, you'll just press your class ability to use this. I like this because it's a fast cooldown and it's a quick way to activate a couple other things on the subclass. But you can also go with the Rally or Towering Barricade if you would like. It's not a huge deal. These do have a longer cooldown, so keep that in mind. I just like the Thruster in general. For your movement ability, you can use what you want. I like Strafe Lift. For the melee, I am using Thunderclap. Again, that is the charge up melee. The longer we charge it up, the more damage you can do. And with Shock and Awe, it also can apply those lightning strikes, which is just hilarious. If you want to use Ballistic Slam or Seismic Strike, again, that's a shoulder charge. You can totally do so. I just like the Thunderclap because, again, you can either hold it for a lot of damage and you don't need to be moving around like you do with these two. Lastly, for the grenade, we want the Pulse Grenade, a grenade that periodically damages targets within its explosion radius. The reason being is because of our aspect here, Touch of Thunder. Touch of Thunder gives bonuses to certain grenades, your Flashbang, Pulse, Lightning, and Storm grenades. With the Pulse Grenade specifically, though, it creates ionic traces periodically as it damages targets and increases its damage over time. So we can throw it on a target like a boss. It's going to do a lot of damage and create ionic traces for us. If you don't know what ionic trace is, description right up here in the top right. A bolt of pure arc energy that travels along the ground seeking toward its creator. When picked up, ionic traces grant ability energy. So we're going to have our abilities back even faster with this. Now, with our other aspect, Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks starts health regeneration and makes you amplified. So this is how we're initially going to become amplified. With our fragments here, first up, Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage, plus 10 to strength. Again, more survivability. It's always going to be a good thing in PvE activities. Next up, Sparkle Amplitude. Rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. We're going to be amplified a lot of the time, so if we can create orbs for ourselves and our teammates, that is just going to help everybody out, right? Next up, Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage, plus 10 to your resilience. Now, we are going to be in kind of close quarters for this, so if we do get hit with a melee before we let out that Thunderclap, we're going to do even more damage with it, which is just a small bonus. And then lastly, Spark of Magnitude. Your lingering arc grenades have an extended duration, so now on top of our pulse grenade lasting longer, it can also have more damage because it does last longer and have more opportunities to create ionic traces. Next, let's go over the armor mods that I'm using, starting with the helmet. First up, I have Arc Siphon, Rapid Arc Weapon Final Blows, create an orb of power. Next, I'm rocking Dynamo, reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near target. So if I use that thruster, or if you decide to use one of the barricades, whatever, near targets, it is going to give you more super energy. Now for the last one, you can choose hands-on, gain bonus super energy on melee kills, or you can switch this one out for Ashes to Assets. Gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. Doesn't really matter which one you do, you're gonna get that bonus. Just note that you cannot rock hands-on and Ashes to Assets. This does not work anymore. Only one of the bonuses works, so that's why I'm rocking Dynamo with either hands-on or Ashes to Assets. Next up, on the gauntlets, I'm rocking Momentum Transfer and Impact Induction. Pretty much, if I cause damage with my melee or my grenade, it's going to cool down both of those abilities. So it's kind of like a cycle that goes on with these two mods, which is what I really like. It's going to give us an even faster cooldown. Then lastly, you can either rock Firepower, your grenade final blows create orbs of power, or you can use Heavy-Handed. Your powered melee final blows create orbs of power. Next up on the chest piece, you can rock whatever combination of reserve and resistance mods. Again, it's up to you if you want to do something like, melee damage resistance, if you're going to be close quarters, which I do like for this build in particular, so I do recommend it. And then arc reserves, again, I am going to be using arc weapons, so if I can have more ammo for my special and heavy if I'm using it, that is going to be extremely good. Next up on the boots, I like rocking Invigoration and Innervation, so whenever I pick up an Orb of Power, it's going to give me a cooldown on my melee and my grenade. And then lastly, I'm rocking Arc Weapon Surge. Your arc weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. If you don't know what armor charge is, pretty much, if you collect an Orb of Power, you will gain an armor charge. Minimum, you can have 3, and with these blue mods in particular, those armor charges last 10 seconds. So 3, we have 30 seconds of this bonus arc weapon damage. If you did want to replace one of these mods, you could also put on, double arc weapon surge. So now those arc weapons will have even more damage. And then lastly on the class side, I'm rocking first up Bomber, reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. Next up, I like Reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. And then lastly, this mod is fantastic. This is new. It came with Season of the Deep, called Powerful Attraction. Automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So when we use that thruster, it's going to collect all those orbs instantly, giving us armor charges and cooldowns to our abilities with the leg armor. Next up, for stats to focus on, we talk about this every video. Try to have tier 10 resilience, 100 resilience. It's going to give you a 30% damage reduction in PvE, and with Titan specifically, it's actually tied to our class ability cooldown, so we will be able to get that thruster as fast as possible with tier 10 resilience. The next two I'd recommend is Discipline and Strength. Discipline is tied to your grenade, and Strength is tied to your melee, so the higher that you have these stats, the faster you're going to get those abilities back. For weapon options, like I mentioned, we want to take advantage of arc weapon surge on the boots here. So again, any arc weapon is going to do in your energy and your heavy slot. As long as it's good for PvE activities, this is just a bonus. Especially with the new auto rifle this season, Centrifuge. Again, sprinting, sliding, and firing this weapon builds up a temporary electrostatic charge, increases range and reload speed. Final blows with a high charge cause explosions, and maximum charge explosions blind target. So you get a bunch of bonuses just by running around, which Titan's really good at when you're amplified. Now the other perks, corkscrew rifling, appended mag, then hand laid stock, but the other one is regenerative motion. Sprinting gradually reloads the magazine, so it's pretty much free transversives with this weapon. Now if you don't know what the catalyst does, I don't have it yet, but pretty much when you're amplified, it actually does the charge up while you're amplified, so it's another bonus with this weapon. Now if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, I'm going to explain it to the best of my ability. But essentially, once you start spamming your abilities, it's a cakewalk, right? Again, with Heart of Inmost Light, when you use one ability, it gives bonus strength to those other abilities and also has a faster cooldown. Again, with the stuff on our armor, when we use Dynamo, again, using that class ability in your targets gives us super energy. Same thing with hands-on. Getting melee kills gives us more super energy. We can get that super back faster. On the gauntlets with Momentum Transfer and Impact Induction, we get cooldowns to both our melee and our grenade. And with Firepower, we're creating orbs of power with our grenade. And then anytime we pick up an orb of power, whether we go physically pick it up or we use our class ability with Powerful Attraction, just automatically picking up the orbs of power, we're getting a cooldown to both our melee and our grenade with Invigoration and Innervation on the boots. And then right when we're done using our class ability, Reaper kicks in, so when we get a melee kill, that also creates another orb of power. And then with Bomber on the class item, that's going to give us a faster cooldown with our grenade. Now anytime we pick up these orbs of power, we get that arc weapon surge, so now our arc weapons have even more bonus damage. And with Arc Siphon on the helmet, if we get rapid weapon final blows with our arc weapons, that's creating more orbs of power. Now, in regards to the subclass, again, we do have the thruster for the dodge. We have a very powerful melee in the form of the thunderclap and the pulse grenade, which, as we remember, with Touch of Thunder, it creates ionic traces and does more damage over time, and with Spark of Magnitude, it lasts even longer. Now, initially becoming amplified is pretty easy. Using that thunderclap melee paired with knockout, that's going to be fantastic. And then with Spark of Amplitude, once we become amplified and we start getting rapid defeated targets, that's going to create even more orbs of power for us. Now, the other Fragments, Spark of Resistance, again, if we're surrounded, we're going to gain even more damage resistance. And then with Spark of Feedback, if we're meleeed when we're about to use that Thunderclap, it's going to do even more damage. Once we have that super, we're going to use that Thunder Crash. Now, just note, while we're amplified, with Thunderous Retort on the artifact, it's going to do even more damage. And again, while we're amplified, Amped Up is always on, so we gain even more damage resistance on top of that. Again, with Shock and Awe, any arc final blows when we are amplified is going to summon a burst of lightning that jolts targets, so even more added control from that. And remember, with Lightning Strikes Twice, once we throw that pulse grenade, and we get that increased grenade recharge, we can continue to benefit by getting arc final blows, whether it's our abilities or our weapons. So even with Heart of Inmost Light base-wise giving us our abilities back pretty quickly, there's a huge advantage to having all these things to getting these abilities back even faster. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my updated Heart of Inmost Light Arc Titan build. I'm actually going to pin the build with everything on it at the top of the comment, so if you do want to copy everything that I'm using down to everything on the Arc subclass, the armor mods, the artifact perks, even the fashion if you'd like, that is going to be in that dim link. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to test it out for yourself and let me know, that's totally cool. If there's something you think I could have substituted, something that you like on this as well, something that you found helpful, again, let me know. I'm willing to hear you out. I'm testing stuff in this game all the time. In any event, if you like what you saw, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you didn't know, we actually stream live here on YouTube 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Again, sometimes I adjust the time and day depending on my schedule, but if you do want to stay up to date with when I'm going live, I always tweet out at ItsDaveTV, so be sure to follow me on Twitter for updates, anything related to Destiny content. I have other content as well, and I keep people updated there on Twitter. But if you do want to participate in raids, dungeons, PvP, or just hanging out in the Discord, I have my link in the description. Again, we do talk about other games as well and have other topics like PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you didn't know, we hit a YouTube partner here on the channel, which is just freaking awesome. This gives us access to a lot of cool benefits. One of those things being memberships. If you don't know what a membership is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, it is a simple way to support me here on the channel so I can continue making this type of content for you guys. So if you would like some more information, all you have to do is press the join button next subscribe, and I'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.